I'm going to cheat. We got 1 minute to go,
Okay.
but we're going to open the meeting and pretend it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So are there any additions to the agenda before we begin? Anyone?
Very
Well,
thorough. You covered that whole meeting. That was our longest meeting ever.
I have one
Videos.
addition. We did get our municipal planning grant for the town plan, so we need to talk about our next step, which is to accept the grant through Gears, and I don't know what that is. So we'll add that to the agenda as the last item. So, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of November 4th?
I moved it.
Second.
Second. In favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No critiques? So moved. So, we're going back to the conditional use hearing for Ms. Milano on her non-formula restaurant, rural small enterprise in the village zone. Is there anything you would like to say regarding this?
How come you all haven't been in for lunch? I know people had some questions.
My spouse has been by and thought, I can't remember what she got, but we don't tend to go that direction, so.
It is a little bit out of the way.
Well, and then she takes the cat to the vet and can't stop any place because it's too cold to put the cat. Anyway.
Well, we continued this hearing because there were a couple of questions and you weren't here to answer them. So does anyone have any questions at this point? Yes.
Yes, I have two issues. Let me take that off. Two questions I have. One is what happens to your gray water? And I did some research. I'm also the town health officer. So I contacted the people in restaurants and whatever department that is, hotels and restaurants.
You talked to Gordon? You spoke to Gordon? The health director?
Probably not him. I spoke to someone who in his office.
Oh,
I worked
okay.
for him.
Gwen?
And he mentioned the whole thing about the 100-gallon tank
Yes.
and the water and all that. And I had then asked them, supposedly you clean that out 14 days. Every 14 days it's pumped
No.
along with your...
Once a week.
The tank in the back where the gray water goes into this tank.
Yes,
Your well, I guess your water comes from a well.
yes.
And then it goes, whatever you use goes into this tank.
Holding
I
tank,
saw the
yes.
tank before it snowed. And when I asked about it, they said you have the condition of your permit was 14 days. It would be pumped out with the outhouse.
Yes. Yes,
Every
they
2
actually do it
weeks.
once a week.
Is it once a week?
Yeah,
Okay.
because he comes and cleans the thing once
All
a
right,
week.
well, that was part of my question, because if you do the numbers, it ends up being 8 gallons a day.
Yeah.
Which I assume you're not cooking and preparing and washing, but I mean, you still have to wash
Yes,
your hands and
stuff
things like that.
yes. No, we're very, very water savvy. Robin does the dishes and she is very good at it.
Did someone come, they said that they were gonna go back and take a look at that.
Who was?
The people who issued you the permit for the restaurant.
They were gonna come back and take
They
a
were
look.
gonna come back and take a look at it, but I guess they never did. Okay.
I guess it was the health department.
The health
who
department, yeah.
No, I spoke to Gordon, I spoke to Gwen. They know, and I believe Scott is the guy who's the main water guy. No, they all know, they've all known since, oh God, since June, what I was planning and how I was planning on doing it.
Well,
So,
the concern I have is that if you go over, if the tank overflows
I
and
have
you
a-
open up that valve, you'll have water going potentially into the river.
no, absolutely. I have another tank that, say, God forbid, if I do have it full and I can't have the septic there fast enough, I have another blue holding tank that I can bring and fill up with a
Okay.
sump pump. So nothing ever goes down
Right.
that hole.
And then the second issue, this came up when we dealt with the Salt Ash Inn cannabis place was the hours. And I think Keith brought up the fact that whatever hours we set for the cannabis place have to be, we cannot set separate hours for them based on the fact that they're selling cannabis. So we have to have a uniform hours. And I think we established it for that building at 7 o'clock closing time, I believe.
Is that the one at the foot of 100A you're referring to?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that then applies to any business in town. And I did notice that you were staying open till 11, or at least on Facebook, so
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything.
Yeah, I try to stay open till midnight on Friday nights, just for the people coming into town. If you were driving up from Jersey or Connecticut or Long Island or anywhere down there, by the time you leave after traffic, which is about 6:30, 7 o'clock, which puts you up here at 11, 11:30, and there is not a place to eat anywhere. So that's why I was trying to stay
Well,
open till
my concern
midnight.
is the fact that I think we have to be consistent. If we're gonna regulate hours, which we can or cannot do, I don't know if that,
Is that right?
I remember that
Because it's
discussion
Different
distinctly.
type businesses altogether.
Now, I don't know if it applies to a restaurant.
I wouldn't think
I
it
don't
would.
think
I
so.
wouldn't think it
Okay.
would. How do you regulate somebody's hours?
We can
How would
check
you,
into
you
that.
know?
Okay, yeah, that's
How
just
could
what,
you say,
yeah.
my main business is at 8 o'clock, but you make me shut down at 7 o'clock?
Do you get good business between 8 and 11?
Yeah, I usually, on Friday nights, we get hit 7:30, 8 o'clock. Yeah,
Okay, good.
and we're fudging the hours around, we keep changing them and changing them, because we're playing with the idea of staying open to midnight, but the last couple of weeks, I haven't had anybody after 9 o'clock. So am I gonna stay to midnight? No, not unless something happens.
Well, you are
But we're
correct.
finally getting people used to the fact that when they drive by, they see us open. Now,
the
we're
lights on.
also friends with all the neighbors right there, every single one of them.
You know, nobody's complaining.
Nobody, they all
No,
know.
I
Do
do
they
know
come
that
over
we
to
get
eat?
Airbnb guests coming up, and if you leave Manhattan at 5, you're lucky to get here by midnight.
Exactly. So that's what I was shooting for with that.
Right.
And also, if they're pulling in at 11 o'clock at night, I like to be able to do catering for them too. Hey, grab a tray of something and go. Take it cold, take it hot, take it whatever, sit down and eat or have it for the next day. So that was my goal there, that, we're fudging everything. We're fooling around with numbers, times, and, just trying to figure out what works. There's no rhyme or reason for the place, why we're busy, why we're not busy, what days we're busy, what people like to eat. One day everyone wants a quesadilla, the next day everyone wants hot dogs, the next day everyone wants soup, and there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah, is there a food service license requirement? I'm just wondering if
That's
there's
the
any,
one-
is
that's
any
the people
state
that I was checking
requirements?
with.
I don't, if there is, I have it. I have everything. I can't remember anymore. We started this way back in April to try to get this thing open. It took us many, many months.
Yeah, I would think so. I just recommend like making a copy and putting that with your application.
Oh, yes, I do have my license. It's on the side of my fridge.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do.
Because I stopped by today and I didn't see it, so I figured it'd be inside somewhere.
It's on my fridge.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
That's all
so
I have.
that's it. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Hearing nothing more,
Will you be staying open during the summer too?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And we will change hours then too.
We have more daylight to deal
Yeah.
with, which will be
Well,
nice.
I'm gonna gear that more towards the lake people, 11:30 to 5 or 6. So, we'll see if we can stand the heat. Right now, we're battling the cold. Let's see if we can battle the heat.
okay. That's it.
That's it, I'm
We're
free to
gonna
go.
close
Thank
the
you.
hearing. You're free to go.
Thank you very much,
And
everyone.
You will be notified within, I think it's 30 days, probably less than that.
Is there anything I have to do after notification of
Keep on cooking.
keep on cooking? And you'll email me the notification? Is that how it goes?
Or call, which do you prefer, email or call?
I prefer a call.
Okay.
Yeah, because I don't really
I
check my emails all
Have
that
to
often.
give you something in writing anyway, a decision
Well, you'll
letter.
stop by. You
I
love
will.
stopping by. Will you have lunch this time?
I will.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. Nice
Thank
meeting
you.
you.
Thank you
Have a
for
nice
coming
night.
in.
Thank you, Jan. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Okay, they went into the black hole, they're gone forever.
If you don't mind, give
That's
me
why I
your phone
gave
number.
up carrying one of those things.
516-909-1555.
Got it.
Was anybody there when you stopped by tonight?
Nope.
No. I had one customer, she's like, I wanna pick something, I wanna order and pay for it, I'll be there at 4:30. I'm like, I'm not open at 4:30, I'm closed at 3. And then she called, I said, I'll put it in the grill for you. So she was
Yeah, I
happy.
think it was around 11:30.
Oh, that was you this morning?
Oh, that was you yelling?
We were down, we were connecting the water.
Oh,
Because the
okay.
water can't permanently be
Yeah, I
connected.
saw someone down.
Yeah, I'm like,
I
we're
couldn't hear.
coming, we're coming.
Yeah, I can't.
And you can't hear up there, yeah. I'm like, hold on, 2 seconds. Were you having lunch or you just wanted to see my thing?
No, I went in, no, I was gonna order big food and,
Stop by again, we'll be there tomorrow at 11:30. Yeah, we ran a little late this morning, but what are you gonna do? Hey, I own it, I can. Thank you very much, have a nice night.
yeah, you
Thank
too.
you.
So, next on our agenda, we've asked Kevin Geiger from Two Rivers to come over and give us an overview of the Planning Commission powers and roles, how to make review decisions, and the board's role under the bylaw. So, Kevin?
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna connect here. First off, can people hear me? Hear me okay? Yep. Okay.
Yep, you're
But I've got it
projecting
echo.
into that too.
Yeah, you'll want to go ahead and mute yourself on.
Go ahead and mute myself. Okay.
Correct.
So now you can still hear me, somebody?
Correct, yep.
Okay, wonderful. And then I'm gonna share my screen.
There we go.
Are you projecting up to that screen, or do we have to twist around?
No, I think it's gonna be right at the
Oh,
There it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna talk about planning, what's the planning commission overall, and then I'm gonna talk about decisions, because you perform review. Your town does not have a development review board. You perform those functions in the town, which makes you a quasi judicial body.
And that's important because quasi judicial bodies are covered under the ethics rules as well. You're not just like, we're, making a town plan and that type of thing. Okay, wonderful. So what's the planning commission? What do you do under Vermont law and kind of practice? And so the big things you do, so there, oh good, because this moved, now that's moved. The big things you do are you draft the town plan. I am pretty clear with planning commissions that they are not in charge of stuff. You are essentially a committee of the select board in lots of ways. Because I know planning commissions, sometimes they work on the town plan or they draft things up and then the select board does things to it and planning commissions get miffed. And I try to explain, like, you are always working for the select board. They are the folks who get to adopt these things. So remember that not in your review role, in your drawing up documents role. So you get to drop the town plan. You are the folks who draft zoning and subdivision bylaws and amendments to those. You do administrative review, and so that, they're your own boss there. Nobody else is your boss on that type of thing. And we're gonna talk about that a lot in a minute. And you are also double as the Board of Adjustment, correct? Like you're literally the same people?
Yeah.
You just wear a different hat. Which is good because a planning commission cannot be the arbiter of appeals under Vermont law. A development review board can be, or a board of adjustment can be. So you have to remember, same people, different role. You're not the planning commission when you're handling an appeal of the acts of the administrative officer. Another thing that you can do, and a lot of planning commissions don't, but you can, is you are the folks empowered to draft the capital budget and program for the select board to then go and adopt. And a lot of select boards just kind of do that on their lonesome, but it really is a good thing for the planning commission to do. And it feeds out of part of the town plan called the utilities and facilities element of the town plan. And so typically there you say, the town has a town hall, we think it's gonna need a new roof in 10 years and that's gonna cost $50,000 or whatever. That's like the long and short in the town plan. In the capital budget, you might be like, oh, how are we gonna get that money? We're gonna have a reserve account, we're gonna get an appropriation, we're gonna bond, whatever. That goes into the capital budget. You do nominate the zoning administrator, the administrative officer, that comes out of you. And something that a lot of towns get slightly involved in, usually 1 or 2 members of the planning commission, is the local hazard mitigation plan, because that intersects general planning. The other thing the planning commissions do, and there's a wide-ranging enabling, is for you to kind of start specialized studies. So, for example, Hartford is looking at doing a downtown parking study, or Woodstock has worked on wetlands mapping, or you might do a housing study. I think we're working with Chelsea on that, and that type of stuff. So anything else that comes into your brains that you want to think about, that's perfectly fine, because those all then feed back into the plan. This is kind of more the practice part of life in what you're doing. And the important thing is you're not just you here, you are a representative of the town. And since I'm working with planning commissions, and if somebody's working, for example, with you on the town plan, it's good to represent the town. So you may all kind of have a take on something, but you may feel, oh, there's a part of the town that's not showing up. And we think this is their take on this issue. And so you should do that so that who's ever kind of working with you gets the rounded out version of the town, not just necessarily a one-sided or other. And that's from our side, when we're ever working with towns, I always have to caution staff to not get too rosy of a picture, because sometimes planning commissions are skipping merrily along, and then you run into a buzzsaw later. And so it's important to know, like, are we getting the full picture of the town or not? Of course, you have to be ethical, because that's part of the job. You're a government official. You're a planner, you're a volunteer planner. You didn't go to planning school necessarily or anything, but there's a bunch of planning principles that you should use or be aware of. And typically, if you're having two rivers involved or stuff, we go through things like that with you. And so we might talk about, if it's traffic, we might talk about demand-side management or limited access or things like that around how roads actually function. We might talk about, species and habitat connectors. There's a whole bunch of issues out there, the way water moves, you name it. Also, everything you do, the plan and your bylaws have to further the state planning goals, which is Title 24, Section 4302, but you can just think of them as the state planning goals, and they are what you might think of as goals, protect water, protect wildlife, have jobs, have housing, you name it. The number one state planning goal is really a compact settlement surrounded by countryside. So if a planning commission said, well, we want a strip of 8-mile commercial stuff from one end of town to the other, it's not smart planning. It goes against planning principles. It also goes against the state planning goals. And so certainly our staff would be saying, no, you're not going to do that. And think about the future. That's the essence of planning. Isn't the problem of today, it's the problems of tomorrow that you see coming. And you might see them coming because you traveled to a different state and you saw them, or you read an article, or it happened in the next town or whatever. But to me, the motto of planners is you're not surprised by the future, because then you haven't done your job. And so, I think short-term rentals, for example, 10 years ago, might not have been on people's minds. It certainly should be on people's minds now, I would say, in towns like yours. There are other things that come in, and so think about them. And if you want us to kind of give you some advice on what we see as future issues, we're happy to do that out there. So those are the overall quick and dirty on the roles of the planning commissions. And this is around, and I'm gonna go into more detail on this in a second here. This is in your review role, which for you guys is conditional use review. And then you're a quasi judicial body. So you're the best way to think of that is you're the jury. And you can only do what's enabled, and you have to know what's enabled. And you hear testimony and you find facts. And we'll talk a lot about that because that's, to me, the trickiest part of the job. You have strict ethical standards. You are covered by the Vermont ethics rules because you're an official on a quasi-judicial body. And it doesn't mean you can never have a conflict of interest. You try not to have them. When there is an apparent conflict of interest, you have to say that you have it. It gets noted in the record. People can ask about that. Avoid them when possible, but sometimes, literally, you can't get a quorum because everybody's related to the applicant or some type of thing. And you can't just like all go away and have different people come in. So that does happen in places because our towns are so small. But you don't have an ethical conflict just because you live in town. That's not a particularized conflict. You know, I live in town, they live in town, I might see them at the post office. Yeah, that's and we'd all have a conflict of interest. And this is the main role where you're the decision maker. The select board is not the decision maker, the zoning administrator is not the decision maker. You folks are the body who actually make the decision on those reviews. And so now we're going to jump over to that, I think, here in a second. Yep, okay. So I'm going to stop sharing that. And any questions there while I fire up this other one here?
Were you going into depth on some of this, did you say?
Yes.
No.
Escape to exit. Okay, there we go. Yeah, now I'm going to do. I'm going to.
I think it's him, is that?
Yeah. Kevin,
Yes.
what does that mean?
What?
Ari Latanzi?
Oh, that means that Ari is also on the Zoom.
Oh,
Is that somebody participating?
Yeah, Ari actually works for us. There's Ari.
Oh, okay.
And so Ari's just out there on the wall to kind of, this is a good way to train Ari on certain stuff.
for something.
Add it to my list.
You're not him.
So if you wonder, who is that person? That's Ari. Ari's our newest, I think our newest staff person.
So that picture is.
So Ari works on emergency management and planning and a whole variety of things for us. So now I'm going to share, I've got to go back a second here and share this part.
Say goodbye.
Doot. There we go. Okay, good. Let's see, it'll come up in a second over there. There, great. Okay, so first off, I should have introduced myself in the beginning. I know some of you, but, so I'm Kevin Geiger. I'm the chief planner over at Two Rivers. We have several planners, and Two Rivers Ottaquechee is your regional planning commission, of course. Our offices are in Woodstock. And what we do is we do a lot of this. We train local boards, we help them with questions. People call us up all the time and say, oops, I got this thing going. A town was calling me today and said, oh, you know, we need help noticing a hearing. We do that type of thing. That is just part of our job. We don't charge you for that type of stuff. That's all comes with the game. We get some planning support from the state to exist and do that type of thing. We do work for towns under contract to like write bylaws and write plans and that type of stuff. But most of the work we do is just ad hoc technical assistance out in the back for our 30 towns. So you're the kind of the bottom corner of our region, and we go up to Granville, and then over to Newbury, and over to Heartland. So east to Heartland, all the way north to Newbury, over to Granville, in Addison County, and down here is our territory. About 1/10 of the state is a good way to think of it. Most of Windsor and Orange counties, but then little bits of one town, Rutland, 2 towns in Addison. Okay, so we're going to talk about making the decisions, because you folks make decisions. And I'm going to run through this and stop me with any questions you have at any point. And why is it hard? It's hard to make decisions. People, and that's because you're humans, people are bad decision makers. You just start that way. So that's important to understand, is it isn't going to come natural to you, especially in your quasi-judicial role, because you're going to need to be formal. You're going to be formal with people you may know every day in your life. But I urge people to be formal, because that way you're the same with everybody, and think it's very important to treat everybody the same. So and-so is in front of you. Don't be super chummy with people who you know when you're in your official body, because you've got 2 applicants in front of you. One you've known your whole life, the other you don't know. Or especially you've got an applicant in front of you you've known your whole life, and a neighbor or a butter who you've never seen before, who may be not happy with this. You don't want to give the appearance of, oh, I'm, favoring this person. So try to be formal about that. I'm a soccer ref, a high school soccer ref, and so that's like, one of the things they say is like, don't go over to the coach and go, hi, and chat with them, and then don't talk to the other coach, because everybody in the stands will see that, and they're like, oh, you're biased this way, even if you're not. So be formal, be precise. You're going to need to be precise in your decision. You just can't be like, oh, we all know what he meant. You're going to be decisive. You have to decide. That is the essence of decisions. And you have to justify your decisions. The law does allow you to use the minutes of a meeting as your decision. I highly tell towns, don't do that, because those very rarely actually cut the mustard. And so why should you do it? It's your statutory duty to do it. That's you're a government official. You're doing it because it's fair and constitutional. The reason you're going to write your decision so it's understandable, you all need to think, given what's in the written record, if we were to all cease to exist, anybody could come in and understand why you made the decision you did and what that decision authorizes. And so it's got to be understandable, and of course legally defensible. You want it to be that way. You also want to avoid personal problems in all of this. You're government officials, so you get covered by that sovereign immunity type thing. The town has a insurance policy, and the town would protect you in court should you run astray. In your official capacity, if you were to stand up and say, oh, I think, you dress funny and blah, 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 and you talk about somebody in a personal manner that's outside of your official capacity, you run the risk of being personally liable, and then the town is not helping you, and then you've made a bad choice in life. Yes?
Before you go on, your last point there being legally defensible, in writing the decision letter then, you make your decision and then you have to justify the decision based on our regulations solely.
Solely, yeah.
Nothing outside of the regulations, and everything entirely in keeping with the regulations, is that correct?
Yes, you only get the powers that the law gave you and that your bylaws give you. And your bylaws can only give you the powers that the law give you, but for example, under conditional use enabling, there are 5 things you have to do, and then the law says, and any other standard you want to write. So the law is widely enabled, but you have to write that standard. You can't make it up at the meeting and be like, oh, well, we think bear habitat's important, and you go, we have nothing in the bylaw that we can hang our hat on about bear habitat. Or whatever the thing may be. Who makes it? This is really important because sometimes you're not the right people. And the layperson doesn't necessarily know that. So they come to you and they're talking a while and you're like, oh, yeah, that's not us to do that. And depending upon the bylaw, this is generic, but depending upon the bylaw, the appropriate municipal panel means Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, and Development Review Board. So you're the Planning Commission. Again, if it's an appeal, the AMP is the Board of Adjustment. You have to remember, not that body, this body over here, you name it. The AO, the administrative officer, or the zoning administrator often can make certain decisions that you don't make. And then you don't have advisory panels, so you don't have to worry about that. Oh, I'll skip advisory bodies. We don't have those in Plymouth, which is nice. You make a decision once the application is complete. That's important. And depending upon how you structure yourselves, somebody is going to need, or the entire body is going to need to decide an application is complete. My advice for most towns is use your administrative officer to do that, to be the funnel, because they're around more, they tend to have a mailbox and an address and that type of thing. And an application comes in and they'd go, this thing needs conditional use. I think it's complete. We're going to a hearing for that. Other than that, it might be the chair. There is actually a clerk of the body is a position in law, so you might say our clerk does that. That'd be one of you. I don't think you have a clerk you've hired to actually do things. But it's nice to know, because otherwise you go to a hearing and you go, well, we need A, B, and C, and you don't have A, B, or C. And we're all gonna go home. And that was a waste of time. So try to have somebody know this thing is complete. And that all information is gathered. That's when you're in your hearing. I really try to stress to chairs, because some people are quiet people. And it's important before you close the hearing and you go off to make a decision that you've looked at your standards and everybody has all their questions out, so that you don't go like, okay, you're set, and I urge chairs to like literally ask each person, any questions, and then when you're all done, you can be like, okay, fine, hearing's closed, we're gonna deliberate. And then people go, oh, well, wait a minute, what about, like, no. Once that's sealed, you've gone off and you're the sequestered jury at that point. So don't do that. Should you, and this happens, should you decide, oh, there is a piece of information we forgot, I would go back to a hearing, rewarn it, and because the idea is that everybody that was participating in that gets to see that process. You can't just call them up on the phone and go, oh, we wanted this one more piece of information. Even if nobody was here, do that.
We do that. We've done that.
Yeah.
When do you make a decision? There are some time clocks. If you don't make a decision within those time clocks, the applicant gets deemed approval, and you have certain orders about things, although with you folks it's basically very simple. The deemed approval thing is kind of interesting. So, for example, After the hearing closes, you have 45 days to issue your written decision. On the 46th day, if you haven't done anything, the applicant gets deemed approval. My thought always with that was, oh, they get to go do what they want. That is not actually the case, according to the League of Cities and Towns. The League of Cities and Towns will tell you deemed approval is not the same as an actual permit. Their advice is that the applicant would need to go to court to get actually approval authority to go forth and do things. You should file a notice in your land records that we didn't do our job, and so there's a deemed approval out there. But the League of Cities and Towns will tell you that's different than actually having a permit.
So I get a question relating to conditional use that we closed the hearing on a couple of months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we went into deliberation, and I realized that we had missed something
Yeah.
that's kind of major.
Yeah.
And it was in the flood overlay and needed a letter from the ANR stating that it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I notified the applicant, and he was fine with that. He was kind of taking the responsibility for that himself. And he went and he contacted Brian Kovalik. Is that right? No.
No.
No, I know.
He's too.
But he contacted the,
He's contacted somebody at A&R.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they supplied the letter.
Yeah.
Which I have tonight, and we were gonna continue the deliberation. But because this is new evidence,
Correct.
would I be wrong in doing that?
You should, to me, the correct way to do, well, the super correct way to do that is warn a new full hearing,
Yeah.
send out a full notice to everybody and start the ball again.
I understand, but I really don't wanna do
Yes.
that because of the time
Yes.
constraints. And-
If there was nobody at the hearing,
Yeah,
like literally nobody on Zoom, nobody sitting in a chair, nobody else there, then I would essentially continue the hearing. I would go back into a hearing, enter that information into the record, without necessarily noticing it again. The cleanest way is to notice it again. However, there isn't anybody who has appeal rights because they weren't there under the first part, so they can't appeal that you did it wrong. And that'd be a way to do it versus just kind of inject that information into the deliberations. Yeah, avoid that whenever possible.
Are you saying, because we have this letter now,
Yes,
that we should have a hearing tonight, that we don't have to warn?
you have to warn all hearings.
Okay.
Yes.
but we could reopen the hearing.
You could reopen, because as we'll talk about, if you're going along in a hearing, and let's say you were waiting for a piece of information, you don't need to re-warn a hearing, you just recess to a time and date certain, you have that hearing, which can be tomorrow at noon. It can be whenever, then you get that new piece of information and then you go.
Does anybody recall, were there people here because of that
Mrs.
hearing?
Falango was the only person here.
Just Falango?
Do you have the minutes for the October meeting with you?
October's no.
Just his.
November.
Do you have them in?
I think I
Mrs.
do.
Falango and Josh Rourke
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
here.
And they were the applicant.
They're the applicant.
Yes.
There was nobody.
And there was nobody on Zoom. Yeah, so again, cleanest way, redo everything. Second cleanest way is probably just treat it as a continuation of the hearing.
Okay.
You would put a meeting notice, like you do all your meetings, an agenda item. You can't just kind of think it up on the spot. and do it that way.
Well, the plan was we were
To
going
add
to
it to tonight's
just do it.
agenda.
Yep, and that's where we don't play the lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
We can tell you,
But without anybody contesting this at all.
yes,
I don't see it as an issue. I see it as one of those instances where it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
yes, I get
Being
that. I am not
a-
going to advise you to do that.
Yes.
But you're perfectly fine. I'm the town moderator.
Yep.
And your town moderator probably does the same thing. Sometimes the body wants to go over and do something, and the town moderator goes, okay. Moderators don't issue legal opinions. They'll tell you like, I'd rather you not, but don't. Okay, so we'll talk about a few more things here. Where can you make a decision? To me, I advise bodies to always make decisions in deliberation. Deliberation is not executive session. It is a different thing under the law, but it can be public or private. I always advise bodies to always deliberate in private. And that way, when you get the sticky ones, and people go, what are you hiding? You go, we always deliberate in private. And everybody knows, yeah, they always deliberate in private. And so there's never like a, oh, we do it in public now, and when it gets squirrely, we're gonna go in private. Where and when you decide to deliberate, you can do that wherever you want. You can be like, we're all gonna go to Ann's house tomorrow, because it's private. It is not a publicly noticed thing. It's noticed amongst you all. Like, you can't be like, oh, we're all gonna go to Ann's, but we're not gonna tell Elaine, because we don't want her to show. That you can't do. You all have to know. But it's a private deliberation. Off you go, you make your decision.
On that note,
Yes.
it may be a little off topic. What are the limitations of email correspondence?
You can email each other all you want, as if you're in a room, because again, you don't have to be physically present. There isn't a Zoom option, you know, for the public or anything to do that. The important thing there is everybody is in the loop. because
Everybody on the board.
Everybody on the board, right.
Right.
So there, like, if you were to ask a question of the chair shouldn't respond to you and back and forth. The chair should be like, here's a question you sent, and here's the answer, and everybody gets that.
Okay.
And so that everybody is in that same bubble, just as if you're around.
But you can, I guess, deliberate
Yep.
that way.
Yeah.
Somebody can say, I don't think this is a good idea because of that.
No.
That's okay.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You can do it however you want.
We can't make decisions.
Well, we typically do
Unless
our
it's formal.
deliberations after we close the hearing.
Yeah. And
We're all
that's,
together.
that's where most people do them. My only concern there, as a matter of practice, is sometimes that's late at night, you know, because the hearing's gone on, you know, it's 10:30 or whatever, you're like, oh, now we're gonna make a decision. Don't! Your brain's fried. So don't do things late at night. Also, you're gonna want a written decision. At the end, I have innumerable towns tell me, oh, we made our decision. I'm like, well, email to me. They're like, well, we didn't write it down yet. I'm like, then you don't have a decision. If it's not written, there is no decision. And it's really nice to have a draft written decision. That's the type of thing you might email around. And go, this is, you know, the draft written decision. So if a body has a clerk or a planner or whatever, usually they do that. You can decide how you want to do it. But some bodies, obviously, you know, you can't have 12 people writing the thing. Somebody's going to write that draft written decision and go, is this what we all agreed to before we go? Yes, we're going to vote on that, agree to that thing.
Kevin, is that the way it should be done then with the decision letters?
That,
Typically, the way it has always been done was the board chairman wrote the decision letter.
Yeah.
And we mailed it to the property owner.
and did
And
you,
it also gets mailed now to anybody who's been at the meeting.
yeah.
But I don't think we ever necessarily shared it with the
No.
board.
Well,
I
yeah,
would.
Mike Coleman would send.
Would he would send it out?
Sometimes, if there were
Sometimes.
questions
Too
about,
often.
if he wanted to be
No.
really sure he got it.
Oh, before it was
Yeah.
finalized.
As a matter of
Before it
practice,
was final, but
I
we'd
would
already
agree.
made the
We
decision.
decide what we want to be in
Yes.
the letter, and then Bruce goes and writes it, and then we don't see.
So we should be
But you
sending
know,
a
Bruce
draft.
is, he's out shoveling and falls and hits his head, and he only gets 3 of the 5 things in there. You know, I would send it around.
Maybe we should, okay,
Okay.
We need to send a draft decision
Yeah.
to the board
Yeah.
before it's finalized.
Right, now,
like
on the real clear
it's like the minutes,
ones,
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah.
on the real clear ones, some towns that have professional planners, they actually come to the hearing with a draft decision. Because they've looked at all the stuff and they've looked at all the submittals and they're like, da-da-da-da-da. You know, or at least the 12 things that were like not applicable and here's why. And so you can kind of get a jump on those things ahead of time. This is just around deliberations. And again, you do not need to adopt that at an open meeting. The decision is public, the voting on the decision does not have to be public. You can
Right.
do that in your deliberations.
That's-
So you just come out with a decision. That's the decision.
And if that
And we-
decision is public, that's where you have all your reasoning.
Yes, and we're gonna go into that.
Okay.
Because that's, to me, really the guts of the thing.
Yeah.
So what's the decision about? What the applicant wants to do, can they do it, and how they're gonna do it. And it's amazing how many times that doesn't happen. And I urge towns to, for example, your conditional use has your 5 standards, right?
Mhm.
That's your form, basically, because you're always gonna hit those 5 things. And then if you have certain language that you put in there, you can kind of pre-write that a little bit. Again, pre-application, whether the board chair or the AO, depending as a matter of practice, there isn't a law around this. It's good for somebody to just go be a person who helps people deal with applications and go, oh, we're gonna have to address these 5 things. You should think about those and come and talk to us about those things. And here's like something I can see coming up, blah, blah, blah. Here's the district you're in, here's the use table, whatever.
We tend to go through each item in
Yes.
the regulations.
Good.
And see, does it match this?
Yep.
Does it meet this? Until we're all satisfied.
Yeah. Now, we will, at the Regional Planning Commission, occasionally, we have somebody call us up and go, this town's being a dingbat, yada, 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 yada. We do not, you know, towns are our main clients. People who are mad at towns are not necessarily our clients. But we don't want the towns to get in trouble, so if we see the town being a bonehead, we will kind of diplomatically respond to the person sending us stuff and copy the chair of the town so that nobody's playing telephone. So we're always like, this, you know, we heard Janie was real upset with you and this is why we urge you to reconsider this thing and we'll send it to the world. But we don't get into the mom versus dad pickle and, you know, that type of things. Standards. It's all about the standards. What district, what's the use, what standards apply. Conditional uses are their own strange pickle because conditional uses may not be exactly the use that you list. And so sometimes, one of the things you have to do is decide, what is this use? Is that a restaurant? Is that an inn? Is that a barn? You know, whatever the thing may be. And sometimes you have to do that. That in and of itself is an important thing that you're doing. And that's something sometimes that the administrative officer does ahead of time as they go, I think this thing is an inn. Off you go. Every act of the AO is appealable. And of course, every act of you guys is appealable as well. You just appeal to different people. The applicant appeals AO acts to you. Hearing. It's right there in the word, hear. Under oath, hear them. Hear anybody else. And hear your own board. But make sure everybody is heard, you're respectful, you're clear, you're concise, you're thorough. Advise anybody who's here in any way, shape, or form that to retain their appeal rights, they need to participate. So if somebody's just sitting there looking grumpy the whole time, you might say, Mr. Jones, to retain your appeal rights on this matter, you need to participate in the meeting. Would you like to say something? It doesn't have to be lengthy. It can be just like, don't like the project. They've now participated. They retain their appeal rights, right? Yes?
Is the under oath part presumed?
No.
We don't do, we have to,
I
Do
would
what they
put
do
them
in
under
court.
oath.
This is at our regular hearings?
Yes, so the applicant comes in, we're gonna put you under oath. Now applicant, everything you say, true, yes, I swear.
Is there a standard oath?
There probably is, I don't know one offhand, but I think it's just the, you swear to.
I know we
tell the
do
truth,
this
and nothing but the truth.
in
So help you God type thing.
BCA.
the BCA and some Board of Appeals, and the other one is the
Abatement.
abatement.
Yeah, so I would look around and there's probably just a standard.
Yeah.
unless we could just say, the applicant could speak and just, you'll be under oath. Just say something you're under.
Yeah, you're under, you understand, you're under oath, yes.
I think
Under oath.
the oath has to
Be
be
more formal.
specific
Yeah.
as to what it is.
Listen, I'm gonna lie.
No, but you're,
Yeah.
and this is the critical part, really, to me, of a decision. Again, how do you decide after you've deliberated, so you've got the information, you've gone from private, you've deliberated, now you're gonna decide in writing, and then you're gonna have the parts, the introduction, the facts, and the summary. And so, I always say that's like the note card version. Fred came in to do a pizza parlor. Fred's in this district, we find, we issued the approval of the conditional use on the pizza parlor. That's the introductory thing, and then go, okay, Fred was the only one who showed up, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da, here's the things, here's the 5 things, blah, blah, blah. And then you have, some type of thing. And pretty much you could do that as a form, and you just always have it, and then you'd always have it. And, once you do a couple, you kind of just can replace the names and keep going as you go along. Again, you have 45 days, it has to be in writing. Findings of fact, and this is the critical part I find, is because oftentimes you have uncontested testimony. One person shows up and they are addressing the issues, and they tell you this and that and the other thing related to, for parking, right? You've got some parking stuff under conditional use, or landscaping, or other things out there. And they say, oh, the parking will be fine, there's, there'll be plenty of parking for my whatever. And you all might go, well, I don't think so, that seems awful short, but you might not. And, or deliveries, the delivery trucks are always fine, and the neighbor's not here to go, wait, the delivery trucks is like parked in my driveway. That's no good. And so what you do, especially with this one-sided testimony, is you take a testimony and evidence and you turn it into fact. And we don't realize we're doing that because we do it so quickly. Joe says there's plenty of parking. Oh, okay. You have just agreed with Joe and taken that testimony that there's plenty of parking and turned it into a fact for your review. There is plenty of parking. We have to find there's plenty of parking because that's our standard, Joe says this, we turn it into a fact. And it's difficult to do that without a second person going, no, that's wrong. So you kind of got to make up a grumpy person that doesn't agree and think of, and test all the evidence before you literally turn it into a fact.
Or have visited the place.
Or have
for
visited,
yourself.
right, you might do a site visit. If you do site visits, which you can do as a matter of practice, remember site visits are gathering information, they are not places to kind of make decisions out there in the world, and they're really to try to clearly understand what is going on, especially if you have a written document in front of you. If you've got a plan, you know, and it's got a tree on it, and you're like, okay, you're not gonna cut down that tree, or that tree blocks the view, blah, 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 and you go out there, and I've been on site visits like that, where you go out there and they're like, oh, that's the tree blocking the view, and clearly the tree is over there, and the view is over here, and you're like, that's the tree that's blocking the view here. And, you know, the engineer's like, yeah, and you're like, okay, you know, we're all seeing this, now we can go back in our meeting and go, that tree clearly doesn't block the view. But we're not gonna make that decision at the site visit, we're just trying to go, you know, that's the house, that's the, you know, lot line, whatever the things are.
We tend to do those individually if we're not familiar with the place. So not
As
to
a
make
group.
any decision. But-
You tend to individually go? like-
Well, I mean, if somebody does something and Bruce knows exactly what it is, but I may not have been by that place
Yeah.
before, I wanna go lay my eyes on it
Yeah.
to say, oh, okay, that's what their
Okay.
application's about.
As a matter of practice, that's a little odd. It's kind of like just having one person over in the jury box and then a different person's over in the jury box hearing different testimony. If you do
This is
that,
before the,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's, you can see that information is not universal.
right,
If you do that, I would make sure that you come and report to the whole group. This is what I saw and this is why I think it.
oh, okay.
And that way you can arrive at a common picture, because you are gonna jointly turn them into facts. Usually where I really see it is on, when the issues are around visual disturbance and screening and that type of stuff. And there's some question about, like, does that thing actually get in the way of the neighbor or whatever, or like, oh, yeah, you can see it, but you know, it's that big. Like, now we can all see it.
I've heard, and this could be totally wrong, but if you have too many people out there and it constitutes a quorum, then does that qualify as a meeting that's supposed to be warned?
Well, you should always, because the abutters and potential appellants should all know about the thing too.
Know about what?
The site visit. So if you do a site visit, I would always have a time and date
Oh.
and publicize for a site visit. Like, we're going to go on the site visit here. And so anybody in the world can come to the site
And how
visit.
do we do that? Publish it?
You would do it in the newspaper.
The same as we would do a meeting?
I would do it actually like a hearing. I would do a notice out there, if you do that.
So I wasn't talking about something sort of official like that, but I've never seen this place before, so I want to see it in 3D rather than just that and
Right.
drive by.
Yeah, you could do
That-
it, yeah, you might do it that way. It would be important if you felt, oh, we are gonna have issues with neighbors and we want their take on certain things. Or like, for example, we need to go over to the neighbor's property to look at the thing. And you can't just walk around on people's property willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
So that type of stuff.
No, I was thinking something much
Yeah.
more informal.
Yeah, some
so-
things are
oh, okay.
obvious, everybody can see them from the right of way, that type of thing. Law and decisions, this is 4464 is where they put that. Decisions shall be in writing and shall include a statement of the factual basis where you made your conclusions, and a statement of the conclusions. And so the law says you have to do that, so you're gonna have to do that, which is good. And relating to the review standards out there, facts plus standards equal compliance. The facts mean things, you know. That's the important part, is our standard is you know, you have to be less than 10 feet tall. They say they're gonna be 9 feet tall. We find that to be true. We find 9 feet to be less than 10 feet. That means they're in compliance with our rule that says you have to be less than 10 feet tall. So it's a little kind of almost redundant to set things out that way, but try to do it that way, is our advice on things. And there's some resources and stuff about things. If you get into a pickle and you're like, gosh, I don't know, my advice would be to always just continue the hearing, because then you don't have to renotice or anything and go, I don't, you know, I think we've got everything, but I don't, you know, I think we might, there's something bothering me, I can't remember what it is. Let's just continue this hearing, because there is no time frame on that. You could do it for a day, you could do it, well, we're gonna continue the hearing to tomorrow. Applicant, when's good for you? Can you come here, you know, in a week? Fine. You know, we gotta go back and read the bylaw. We gotta do for some reason, something's not coming up. You can ask us, you know, we read bylaws, we read a lot of these things. Usually it's more gray areas where we get asked, where the rules are not clear. And that happens because it's English language. And, you know, somebody's got the, like, what does undue adverse effect mean? And how's that different than adverse effect? Yada, yada. Because some of the standards are undue adverse effect, which is different than adverse effect. And there is a little bit of case law around what undue adverse effect means, but there's not a lot, unfortunately. So you can call us up, you know, call your lawyer, call the Secretary of State, call the LCT. There are people out there to help you. As I tell people, we get paid to do that. That's why I have those initials next to my name, all that type of thing. But we're not, you know, the final arbiters. You are on everything. And so you might go, well, that's nice, Kevin, but we think you're out to lunch. And that's, don't, you know, I'm not going to be offended if you do that. That's perfectly fine. But the essence to me is really that part where you go, I am taking information and I'm believing it and I'm turning it into a fact, and trying to make that a two-step process, because our brains just go, Sally says the barn's going to be red. It's a red barn. You go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait. Testimony, fact. And write it down. People, I'm assuming people are occasionally bringing you blueprints,
Yes.
site plans, things like that. That's good, because if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Should they need to modify those things, it is perfectly acceptable to write on them. You don't need to go, oh, you need to go get your landscape architect to put that tree in there and pay them $150. We can literally draw a tree right now. That's now in our evidence here. This thing right here, we draw a tree in, because they forgot one. And again, everything doesn't have to be surveyed. You can accept certain things to go, okay, you know, that's just your hand-drawn stuff. You took a picture with Google Earth and you measured with Google Earth, and that's good enough for our work, whatever. Some things do have to be surveyed, of course, subdivision stuff. Because of plats and things like that over there. That's it on decisions. So now we're gonna stop sharing and, you know, basically ask any question that you want to ask. And again, we're here, we get literally calls every day by commissions, town managers, zoning administrators. I would urge you to try to use your zoning administrator as a funnel, just as a way to do it. Oh, another thing, because you are officials, don't ever do business outside of the business place. You know, so somebody comes up to you at the gas station, I was thinking of applying for da-da-da-da, what do you think? Like, why don't you come to a meeting and ask me that question? Is the correct answer versus like, sure. The other thing is.
Or go talk to the zoning administrator.
Or go talk to the zoning administrator, right. The other thing is, you don't issue conditional use permits, you issue conditional use approvals. And remember that. The zoning administrator issues the permit, and is responsible for putting in the record. So what should happen is, your approval goes out, zap, it goes over to the zoning administrator, it's the only thing they need, they issue a permit, and they're off to the races. Two things, that came up, talking with Bruce and Elaine earlier, are about timing. Because you mentioned flood stuff earlier. The law requires that for flood-related permits, the state to have a 30-day comment period. Of course, you've got a minimum 15-day notice on a hearing. So it's possible you could go to hearing, have the hearing, and not have the comment back from the state by the time of the hearing, which would be crazy, because it's one of the purposes of the hearing is to get the information. In those cases, what I would do is I would always wait to warn the hearing. So you get the stuff, send it to the state, wait 2 weeks, then warn your hearing, so that it's always such that if the state's going to tell you anything, that information comes by the time of the hearing. If it comes later than 30 days, that's their problem. The same thing, the same conundrum can happen with your decision in the zoning permit. Your decisions to issue conditional use approval are appealable for 30 days. You send your decision to the zoning administrator, they issue the permit, that's appealable for 15 days. So their decision can become unappealable while your decision is still appealable. And why that's the law is beyond me, but that's the way it is. So my advice is, when you send that to the zoning administrator always waits 15 days, and then they issue. And that way the two appeal periods will merge, and nobody will be in this thing where your opinion is still appealable and their opinion is not. Their act is not. So that's just a way
Do
to
you
kind of.
understand that?
I do. I wish Jim were here though.
So tell Jim, whenever you send him a decision, tell Jim, like,
You
sit
gotta
on it
wait
for
15 days.
15 days.
So
before you-
let me ask this.
Yes.
The decision letter is finalized.
Yes.
Yes.
After the board has gotten the draft and everybody approves it. Then we send it to Jim, the final draft, the final decision letter.
Final decision, yep. And you send it to the applicant.
He should not,
It goes to the applicant, not Jim.
Well, no, I would send it to Jim too,
Oh,
because Jim
yeah.
needs to
Well,
issue
him
permit.
also.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jim should not post the permit sign for another
15 days.
15 days.
Right, because that permit is appealable for 15 days.
Okay.
And our
So,
decision
from the date
is
of our decision
appealable
letter.
for 30.
Right, now
So
you need
you
to.
want them to end on the same day.
Right, now you needed to send it to the applicant, so the applicant knows they've got 30 days. You don't want to be like, can't tell you. But once your decision is made in public, it's out in the world.
Yeah.
And that's important for people to do. Usually there's no appellants out there. A note on appellants and interested parties: only interested parties have appeal rights. You have to have a particularized interest, and you have to have participated in the hearing. But you and I can be like, well, you didn't show up, and I don't think you have a particularized interest, so you're not an interested party.
Then they,
My advice to towns is don't do that. Let the courts do that.
Yeah.
Because then they can appeal you denying them interested parties. And then we're back in the same boat. So my advice is let everybody in the door. And typically you'll see that if there's a hot case, usually all the lawyers go, we're not gonna argue about this person being an interested party, just like,
Wait till it goes to court.
yeah, and the court can figure out, like, you don't have appeal standing, go away. Try not to get into that with them, should you ever be there. Again, we've covered, don't get yourself civilly sued by making, dumb personal comments about anybody. Recuse yourself, obviously, if you have a conflict of interest. If you can't recuse yourself, make everybody know the conflict of interest out there. Adopt a conflict of interest.
We do have a conflict of interest policy.
Policy, yeah.
We do not have,
There's the
Didn't we
appearance.
sign things, or not? I'm not thinking about you guys.
You might sign them, yeah. We
I
like,
know I've signed yours, I can't
Yes.
remember if we've done one.
they're in the policy
Here,
book.
yeah.
Yeah.
Reading the literature there,
Yep.
there is a conflict of interest, and then there's also the appearance.
The appearance of a conflict.
And that is a lot, that's very broad.
Which is broad, they're both covered under the conflict of interest code of ethics. And that's because you don't want the public to think you're doing shenanigans, even when you're not doing shenanigans. Because it's all about trust, right? And so when in doubt, if somebody goes, well, your third cousin's ex-wife is, da, 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 da. So I think you have a conflict of interest. To me, if you can keep a quorum, go, fine, I'm out. I don't agree with you, but just to avoid that issue, have me recuse myself. If you do find, somebody can raise a conflict of interest thing, again, that's all on the record, you might go, well, that doesn't make sense. There's no reason why that's a conflict of interest, but the record is gonna show that issue was raised, and here's why we don't think it's a conflict of interest, and yada, yada.
Does being in a butter put you in conflict of interest?
And not necessarily, but it might. You might think like, oh, that's, I'm gonna have to listen to that, or I'm gonna have to do this or that. And so you might say, I have a conflict of interest here.
Okay, but so if you recuse yourself, you still could attend the hearing and make.
Yeah, then you
Especially
could definitely be on
concerned.
that side. If you're ever going to do that, I wouldn't hop back and forth. And I've seen people do that, like, I'm
Really?
recusing myself, now I'm not recused. Like, no,
Just do it for the whole.
do it for the whole thing. And, yes. And the same way, if you're ever on a body and you have to recuse yourself from the body for some reason, leave the room.
Yeah.
Just so nobody's like, oh, what are they doing? Yeah. But you might be, I'm gonna actually be an appellant in this case, because they're driving me crazy. Yeah, and then there's a firewall. You stay out of any type of communication inside the jury room. Think about it that way. The jury is a very good analogy, because we all kind of have seen juries on TV. I've never been in one, but you know that they kind of go off and come back. What they're doing is sealed over there.
How is the municipal code of ethics
Yeah.
different from having our policies all defined individually?
I don't know, I'm not
mean,
an
do
expert
we-
in that type of thing. I did see that the state has adopted a new municipal
Yeah.
code of ethics just in the last couple of years. And that's the type of thing that the Vermont League of Cities and Towns is really good about,
Yes.
helping you out with, because they have lawyers who spend their time on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question, going back to something you said at the beginning about what our purview is and what our basis for review, and you gave the example of bad concerns, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've expressed my opinion at times about what becomes an interpretation as opposed to to what's actually literally written in here. Do we follow it literally?
Yes.
And in looking at, for example here, shoreland area overlay, it says to protect the visual aesthetics and water quality of important lakes and ponds in Plymouth. Well, water quality that could mean a lot of things to different people.
Right.
One person might say, well, you're not dumping hazardous waste there, so that's fine. I may look at it and say, well, if you erode the banks because your drainage system is crappy,
Yeah.
you're gonna cause siltation in the
Yeah.
water.
Uh-huh.
So this is to me, this is almost
That's
carte blanche to act as almost like a conservation commission.
That's pretty wide, so that is a conditional use standard that's applicable of that overlay district.
Right.
Okay.
And then likewise, the flood hazard
Yeah.
says, ensure wise use and conservation of lands immediate to lakes.
Yeah, that's,
So wise use.
yeah, that's not language which we would write these days. 'Cause that's, you know,
That's vague as
that's
hell.
pretty darn big. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
well,
Yeah.
whether we would write it the next time,
yeah,
I probably wouldn't, but it is in here.
yeah.
And
So,
I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna be crazy, wise uses that,
Right.
you should paint your house green to
yeah.
attract.
So I would not use that standard just because it's such a quagmire. I'd be like, we're gonna walk around that thing. Whereas the water quality stuff, yeah, you might say, I think that the shoreline, or I think that the da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, you've got, I have your bylaw up here, so I was looking at, your mandatory things are, adequacy and safety of parking, access for fire equipment, adequacy of landscaping, protection of renewable energy resources, capacity of community facilities. The character, and this is very good because you wrote it right. The character of the area as defined by the purposes of the zoning district. A lot of towns write the character of the area, and that's not what the law is. And traffic on roads. So you're always going to be looking at, is there parking? Is there loading? Is the traffic okay? Is the landscaping okay? If something is not applicable, I don't know why. There is no traffic, Don't just go not applicable. Right, say, not applicable because there is no traffic. Yeah, I'll always kind of,
You want a reason for
yeah,
everything.
while you're taking something off the plate. Yeah, and again, as your bylaw says, which is what the statute says, is the use won't result in an undue adverse effect on traffic. So, no cars drive by my house, and now one car drives by my house, that's not an undue adverse effect. And the only place where we have any stuff around what is undue adverse effect is in a thing called the Queechy decision under aesthetics, which is an undue adverse aesthetic effect is shocking and offensive to the average observer. And so it's not a little bit, it's like bad.
Right, somebody clears out all the trees on a lake.
Yeah, shocking and offensive. And so think about that bar versus it's not something you just don't like. It's something that nobody is gonna like at all.
Except the person that did it.
Except the person that
Sorry,
did,
you
yes,
got-
yes. Yeah. And, traffic, all things make slightly more traffic, but doesn't rise to an undue adverse effect.
It's still subjective, though.
It is still subjective, but beyond a reasonable doubt is subjective for juries, except you're gonna have a bunch of people reach the same conclusion. So it is subjective, but it's subjective within kind of a reasonable test. And that's okay. But wise use is, nobody has any idea of that.
Your wisdom is
We're
my
not that wise.
foolishness.
Yeah, and this is written, is good, because this is basically the statute right out there. What section were you in there?
I look, 226 is shoreland, and 227 is flood hazard protection overlay.
Okay, I was just gonna, 2, 6, that's sweet. we have you right here. Oh, no, 2.6 in mine is more than one district, so I'm not the right thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, 226.
2.26.
Yeah, and 227.
Oh, there, I got you. Yeah, and so these. Oh, this is the purpose statement. These are the purposes. So the purpose of the district
Is different than the.
is not a
conditional use
standard.
Standards.
No,
Yes.
Yep.
It is a standard when we are looking at the characters of the area as defined by the purposes of the district. So that part of the conditional use. So somebody said, oh, this is an undue adverse effect on the character of the area because the character of the shoreline overlay is to protect the visual aesthetics. So now we're looking at visual aesthetics because that's the purpose of that district. In the conservation district, to protect land in natural undeveloped state. Okay, that's the purpose. Now we're gonna look at that particular thing. Yeah, and so that's the roundabout method it comes in. It's not a direct standard. It's a standard because of the character of the area as set forth in the purposes of the district.
so decisions would not be made from this would be made, the decisions would be made from the conditional use standard
Right.
for flood hazard overlay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to avoid, loss of life and this and that and the other thing, and impair flood services,
So, you know,
all sorts of stuff in there.
There's a lot in there, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot in there. You oftentimes may have, I don't know if your bylaw offhand, but a lot of bylaws will have specific conditional use standards for specific uses, usually gravel pits. Or they might have a specific conditional use standard that only applies in one district, that's written as a standard. And so different things will come into play. Yeah, so, because you don't have a separate flood bylaw, yours is integral in here.
The flood hazard overlay is 3.6 on page 22.
Okay.
And those are the standards
Yep.
by which decisions are made. There's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah, and like I see, you have conditional use standards for rural small enterprise. And then, so there's various parts of your bylaw you're gonna have to remember, like, oh, yeah, we're in that part, and this part over here.
One thing that's curious, the hearing that we had tonight
Yeah,
was for a rural small enterprise for which we have standards, but
Yes.
it was also because she is a non-formula restaurant. We don't have standards
We don't even have a definition.
for non-formula restaurant or non-formula,
It's not in
anything non-formula. So.
So you're
our
treating
standard-
her
We don't have
as-
a standard for it.
but you're treating her as two different uses?
It's well, she was referred to the board for those two reasons, and
Yeah.
on page 15,
there. It just has the
which is the place that gives you,
zone.
The uses?
Yeah.
By district, yeah.
it's conditional use there, non-formula restaurant or non-formula retail, but there are no standards in here for that.
But she's also a rural enterprise? or-
She is.
Yeah, I would try to put her in one box, or put any applicant in, not in a common.
Why do
box.
we even have non-formula restaurant if there are no standards and not even a definition?
You should have a definition.
We
It
should.
isn't
And-
in there specifically either restaurant or formula restaurant or non-formula, but we know one's a McDonald's and one isn't.
Right.
That's sort of the deal.
And that's the type of thing, is taking away from the specifics of that particular applicant.
Right.
That's the type of thing that often happens, is there's like a hole in the definitions, there's a gray area. We have one town, that is actually trying to think we need a definition of breakfast. And I'm like, you don't have to define every word, that's why there's a dictionary. But, if you feel like, this is a case where we have to define what this thing means, because the bylaw doesn't. Fine, do that, agree on it, write it down on a piece of paper, staple it to your bylaw. That's okay. Next time you're in the bylaw, actually put it in the bylaw.
Yeah.
But the important thing is, back to the fair part, everybody gets treated the same. And so, the next time that comes up, you don't have to think about it, you go, we already decided that. These, you know, food trucks are whatever, or this means this thing. And just always do that and try to collect those notes and then actually put them in the bylaw.
This one was
That
the
always
first,
happens.
really.
And, you know,
for us.
everybody's bylaw always have scoopers. I'm always running into bylaws that I wrote going, what did I not, why didn't I fix that here? And, you know, we're fixing them all the time.
But treating everybody the same, Frank, you brought up the hearing for the Salt Ash Inn with regards, there was something
Their
stated
hours of
that
business.
the hours of business. There's nothing in our bylaws that state what
Right.
hours are.
Right, and so is that, so if hours of business aren't a standard, then you go, well, what are we doing? Maybe, are we talking about impact? Maybe we're talking about, you know, the character area is defined by the district, and if the district is supposed to be, you know, quiet, then maybe that's in there. Maybe it's the traffic, because it's the traffic at a late hour versus the traffic in the middle of the day. But think about the impacts versus just, you know, we're not just talking about
Right.
hours because we're interested in hours. You'd
It's
have
the
to-
impact, the hours, the impact that the hours have.
Yeah, and usually it's
And
noise,
The type of thing it is,
Lighting.
too.
Yeah.
things like that, where you go, I don't mind the fact that they have lights on there, I expect them to have lights on there, but not in the middle of the night. And usually it's around noise, we see it a lot on, again, on gravel pits.
My question is, when that comes up, is that something that we can put in a decision letter as a condition?
If there is something that you all agree you have a standard on,
But if we don't have a standard,
don't do
it
it.
shouldn't be done.
No.
Don't do it.
And
As
I-
much
Well,
as we
there
want
might have
to.
been the other thing was this cannabis place.
Oh,
And
cannabis.
The state has different regulations.
Yes,
for that.
Sarah in our
That-
office is the
yeah.
expert on cannabis stuff, because it's got its own,
Right.
like,
Mhm.
weird
Right.
And if I
things.
remember, the discussion we had was that we couldn't, someone, maybe, I don't even know who it was, someone said, if you're gonna limit their usage, it has to apply to everybody else in town.
Who has a
And I don't know what the
cannabis
basis of that is. I just try, in the interest,
That
I
was
bring it
off
up in
the
the
cuff,
interest
'cause
of
there's
fairness.
nothing here.
Right, and so that might be a thing where you go, well, you know, if we find that neighbors hate businesses open after 10, then,
Well, nobody's complained.
right,
Personally, if somebody across the street from me was opening up a restaurant, food truck at 11:30 at night, I would complain. That's just me. Nobody seems to come
Yeah.
to mind, but.
She doesn't have anybody
Well,
across the
she's
street.
crowded,
Doesn't,
sort of
as
echo
far as the
Lakeland kind of
cannabis
thing,
is
and it's,
concerned,
It's lit
does
up.
the
Mhm.
state set some hours of operation?
The way Keith put it is that what, you cannot set a special rule for the cannabis that doesn't apply to other businesses.
huh,
And that comes out of the cannabis law.
yeah, cannabis is its own special.
So you
critter.
can't say you have to shut down at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then meanwhile, the grocery store or the gas station is open till 8.
Yeah,
Boy,
it's
that-
it's
that
like,
doesn't-
well,
That doesn't really make sense though,
No, it
because they are different. When you think about it, the cannabis store is a destination. Well,
Is it-
people go there because,
Is it any different than Chloe's, say?
well, that's a drive-by, you know, it's a gas
No,
station.
you say that people say, let's go to get some cannabis instead of, oh,
I think so. I
I'm
think,
just quoting, I'm just saying.
and
what
anybody
Pete said.
can't go there.
well, you
I mean-
might be, you know, because
You have to be
memories.
of age, blah, blah, blah.
Because I remember it was
Remember.
specifically discussed.
right, but again, you're always gonna look at your bylaw and the
But if it's not-
standard,
We don't
I
have
know
it.
what you're
And-
saying.
Yeah.
and then figure out if you've got the authority to,
To do that.
and the and it's actually a workable piece of
I would
land.
shy away from
Okay.
Yeah,
Pushing
I
too
don't think
many-
that's something we want.
limitations on people. 'Cause
I
they
don't
just-
Well, it's in a
remember
place
I'm
that
just-
nobody is
I don't want
affected by.
somebody like
Uh-huh.
Good comments.
Aaron
across
coming
the
down and
road,
saying,
but
hey,
they
why are you
don't
letting
know
these
what
people
on
go
video
till
here.
11? And I have
Mm-hmm.
to close it.
Even though
Because
it's
you're
society
selling
out there.
drugs, she's selling food.
But
No,
that's,
I know,
that's
I
the
know.
state law. Specific reason of the state law is not to put any negative, negative feeling on what they're selling. You're not making a judgment
No, I
that because it's
understand.
drugs, you do it at 8 o'clock, but if it's beer, you can sell it at 10.
Midnight.
Yeah, and so, be mindful of that. Some things have their own special protections.
We might have been wrong.
Accessory on-farm
I think
businesses,
that's maybe the case, yeah.
also kind of a weird
We should
thing that
just
has some special
perhaps
protections
let him
around
do
it.
what he wanted to do and wait for complaints.
Regardless of what your
Yeah.
bylaw says.
Well, if nobody spoke
Trying to
against
think
it,
of some
even
of
nobody
them.
spoke
And then
against
the
it.
248
So I
things.
I don't live there.
Special protections.
Yeah. She
Okay.
said- She said she has a great rapport with.
Any other questions?
One for me.
Okay.
If I need to,
Yep.
can I ask you to send me your PowerPoint?
Yep,
Under
yep.
oath.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm very glad that, the weather looks like 9
Just
o'clock
fine.
is when the schmutz is
Oh,
supposed
has it
to.
moved a little later?
It did, I haven't looked at the radar yet, but that was the update earlier
Wait,
today.
what's
was that-
happening at 9?
Oh, the
Weather.
weather, when the weather's gonna do.
Oh, actually, the radar has
It
it
looks
kind
better.
of starting now right here,
Better rush.
but by,
Let's see.
the ice will be hitting by 8:30, so,
Tonight?
yeah.
Oh, I
We
didn't
get
know
nice
that.
tonight?
Yeah, you'll,
Like pointing this now.
Just seeing this kind of.
What, freezing rain, you mean, something like that?
Yeah.
Causing ice?
yeah,
Oops.
yeah, it's
I'd
raining,
rather
raining
have
in
it
Bennington.
10 below 0.
Okay.
20
All right,
years
so I'm gonna
is
leave
nice.
Zoom. All right, thank you, Ari, for coming. Hope that was educational.
Great rolling brook.
Yeah.
And
Snowed
Yeah.
tonight
You have to stay
in
down.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
As always.
Well, this,
Well,
I'm looking
Bob
at this
didn't say anything
one,
now.
let's
2 to 4
Yeah.
inches tonight.
yeah,
I had a
so-
steep driveway
So
once.
this is saying 9 o'clock,
And,
is when
yeah,
it's
Sandy
more
can
likely
get
to
that.
start doing
Ice,
something, and it's
salt.
looking like it's
Yeah,
going
thank
to
you.
affect.
you're welcome.
That was
This is my
wonderful.
apple.
You betcha.
Lightning.
Yeah, it slid down that hill.
No, I'm using.
36 years of experience.
Oh, well, there we are.
Especially when you accelerate.
It's
you
not
don't want
healthy.
to.
Yes. Because it goes off on one side.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
not gonna be
We've actually
pretty.
had 2 cars roll over that side.
Really?
And, big
I just hope
discussion now.
my solar
guardrail.
panels
Yeah.
get cleared
So
up.
guardrail's 20,000.
I raked them the other day, but they had
He's
ice
paid by
from the
the-
time
how
before
far you're
from,
away
So they still collect the snow.
so, yeah.
Right, so the people up on top,
This is
including
this
me, were saying
our
that
equipment?
we all
Okay.
benefit equally
On the
because,
guardrails.
at the bottom.
Did you guys adjourn? I missed it.
Because everything
No,
goes
that's
up
just
that
my
way.
part, just
But
checking.
people, a lot of people are saying that I have to pay more because that's
Yeah,
what's
we
in our
still
bylaws.
have to
I'm gonna put
Make
it right
a
here while
The
I'm.
people up on top, Chris Schulte, myself, and we're like,
decision
we're not
about
gonna
this
approve the
other thing,
guardrail
right?
unless everybody agrees to pay
Right.
evenly, because we all
That's-
use it equally.
Right. Everybody uses the guardrail.
Right.
Okay, good luck.
I think we have a hearing.
Or you have to
A
drive.
deliberation.
I live in Ponford, so I'm not super
So,
far.
you get 10 people together,
Well, you
everybody
don't,
has.
yeah, you don't have to go
opinions, everybody
west
wants to do
over the,
something
Oh,
different.
yeah.
There's no like.
You know, you have everybody like,
staff that live in Stratford.
Yeah,
It's
you
just
need
gets crazy.
homeowners
You got the Hill Conference.
associations, but man, what?
Well, we're
yeah,
just
even
way
with
to
10,
have it.
even with 10 people, it's crazy.
knows
Yeah.
everybody.
We have a condo
so,
in Mass.
did Bruce
And there's a
drop you first and then
He
you?
did,
pushing
because-
me
So
out
we
my
can,
Mass,
but
and
we
they're
can all fit.
putting
We
up
will,
with the
yeah,
daily
yeah.
bullshit, but
Not a
Yeah.
problem.
it's,
Good.
we just drive my wife crazy.
Actually, and
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
And the people at the bottom of the road, you know,
Oh, yeah.
we need a new culvert, and it should come out of the association, which means I pay for it.
Right.
You know, I'm not paying for your culvert, you know, what I'm saying? And there's a big fight, I mean, it just gets
Okay, well, have a good night.
Well, they try to do everything like when decks and try to do it so everybody gets a new deck.
Oh,
But they spread it out over 5 years.
Yeah,
So where are you gonna do money?
The hardest
And
thing
the
is.
contract, and the contractor's making a fortune. It's probably like the guy's brother-in-law, you know, who's doing decks.
You know, I haven't heard one where snow plowing, you know, if we were at the end. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks.
Somebody who lives near the street could say, why should I pay for all the snow plowing, for half a mile of snow plowing, when I live only 100
I've
feet from
started
the
going
road?
to their
Right,
meetings
right.
on
So like I
Zoom,
said,
so
I'm
it's
fine
nice to
for
see it in
playing
person.
some at the very top.
But not for that.
When he
But not
helped
when it
us
gets
with the
wet.
last
When I
plan,
moved
oh,
up
I
here,
did
it was a
too.
single dirt road with a dirt strip in the middle.
We were in
And we
here
can have all
Yeah.
on the
these very
screen, but
wealthy people
we
from
had to
down
be in the
south.
dark
And they're like,
because
we
he
need
could,
a 3-lane, beautiful road, you know, and who's gonna pay for that?
Yes, we're gonna go into deliberative session now.